What I'm going to tell you now has been hidden for millennia. But finally, the truth is coming to light. Imagine a secret buried in time, a passage that connects our world to another reality. It's not fiction, it's not theory, it's a real discovery, documented in ancient inscriptions and now reinforced by studies that have never been released to the public. A portal, a transition point between dimensions, and it may be closer than you think. For centuries, entire civilizations have dedicated their lives to guarding this forbidden knowledge. Ancient texts speak of doors to the gods, carved in stone, aligned with specific stars and protected by rituals and priests. The name may vary: Stargate, Hayu Marka, Portal of Osiris, but the purpose is always the same: to travel between worlds. Have you ever wondered why structures like Stonehenge, the pyramids of Egypt, or the mysterious Nazca lines were built with such astronomical precision? Why do they point to constellations like Orion or Sirius? Science tries to explain them with simplified theories, but there is something deeper, something that defies human logic. Sumerian inscriptions speak of beings who came from the sky in boats of fire and taught men how to open the sacred portals. Mayan manuscripts mention the crossing of time and space, and most disturbingly, ancient engravings show figures with helmets, gears, and a circle that many scholars believe is the symbol of the portal. These representations do not appear in school textbooks. They have been hidden, concealed, discredited, but they exist. They are in temples, in caves, in forgotten documents. And now, with the advancement of technology, they are beginning to be rediscovered. Independent archaeologists have found traces of residual energy in sacred places, as if something had been activated there long ago. Could it be possible that our ancestors had access to a form of science that we now call fiction? Wormholes, exotic matter, dimensional frequencies? What was once dismissed as myth is now being reevaluated by theoretical physicists and occult scholars. What's more, leaked military documents labeled as top-secret mention experiments with quantum portals and time warp zones. Some of these locations coincide with geographic points where ancient cultures built their monuments. Coincidence or proof? It is no coincidence that many of these structures are in regions where unexplained magnetic anomalies occur. Science avoids such discussions, but the data is there, ignored, censored, hidden, until now. If what these civilizations were trying to tell us is true, then perhaps these structures are not just memorials. Perhaps they are still functioning. Perhaps they are waiting for something. Lost documents, ancient engravings, and precise geometry suggest that this was not merely symbolic. Civilizations such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Mayans were not just building monuments. They were mapping precise coordinates, activating structures that functioned as veritable stargates, interdimensional portals, a term that sounds like something out of science fiction, but which appears repeatedly in ancient texts. The Sumerians called it the Duat, a transition point between the spiritual and physical worlds. In Egypt, the Gate of Osiris was described as a passage to the realm of the gods, where only the initiated could enter. The Mayans spoke of the window of time, connected to the sacred calendar, which opened at specific moments in the cosmos. These records are not religious metaphors. They are filled with advanced mathematics, alignments with the heavens, and complex instructions for construction and activation. Fragments of this knowledge have been found on stone tablets, burned codices, and buried scrolls, documents that have escaped destruction by empires, churches, and governments. Why? Because they contained something too dangerous to know: the possibility of crossing the boundaries of reality, the idea that humans could access other dimensions, other timelines, other worlds. And the most intriguing thing, in almost all of these cultures, the portals are linked to the same constellation, Orion. Coincidence? or a cosmic signature they received from higher entities. These civilizations were not separate. Even without direct contact, they spoke the same symbolic language, described similar beings, and pointed to the same place in the sky, a convergence impossible to ignore. And now, with new technologies and more attentive eyes, we are beginning to realize that what we called a legend may actually be the greatest hidden truth of humanity. Constructions that defy time and seem to point to something beyond our physical world. And among the most impressive pieces of evidence are structures like Hayu Marka in Peru, also called the Gate of the Gods. An immense stone wall with a door perfectly carved into the middle of the solid rock, isolated in the middle of nowhere, with no apparent function. But, according to ancient shamans, it was the passage point to other worlds. They say that priests could cross it using a golden disc, an artifact that has now disappeared, and simply disappear before human eyes. This is not the only case. The Gate of Osiris in Egypt is another ancient structure built with millimeter precision, aimed exactly at certain celestial positions. Scholars claim that its architecture was not only used for religious rituals, but also for the manipulation of invisible energy fields. Independent archaeologists have begun to notice patterns. Many of these doors, these portals, are positioned along Earth's anomalous magnetic lines, places where the compass fails, where modern technology interferes, where time seems to behave differently, coincidence, or design. There are also reports that have been ignored by academia. Shepherds who have seen lights coming from these stones, travelers who have reported time lapses as they approach these sacred sites. And then the markings appear, symbols carved into the stones, representing stars, spirals, and geometric shapes identical to those seen in other cultures, separated by oceans and millennia. How could people so far apart have created the same symbols, on the same types of monuments, facing the same points in the sky? This is not it is a pattern. And patterns are evidence. Evidence that something greater was being built, something that was not just decorative but functional, something that still pulses, silently beneath the layers of time and doubt. What if these symbols are actually a map to traverse the boundaries of space? For years, archaeologists have dismissed the patterns found on these ancient portals as mere religious decorations. But as modern science meets the curiosity of independent scholars, a new truth is beginning to emerge. We're talking about sacred geometry, codes based on mathematical proportions that appear not just in temples and portals, but in natural formations and even in the design of our own DNA. What seems symbolic may be a key, and when these structures are analyzed in conjunction with the positions of the stars, especially constellations like Orion, Sirius, and the Pleiades, a striking synchronicity emerges. The pyramids at Giza, for example, are aligned with the constellation Orion with a precision that defies simplistic explanation. And it's not just in Egypt. The ruins of Teotihuacan, the stone circles of England, the temples at Angkor Wat, they all follow similar patterns. This is no coincidence. It is a hidden language, an coincidence, ancestral programming. Many of these symbols repeat specific shapes: spirals, inverted triangles, six-pointed stars, concentric circles. These shapes are not random. They have vibrational properties, resonances that, according to quantum physicists, can alter the energy field around those who decipher or activate them. There are records hidden in forbidden manuscripts and apocryphal books that these codes functioned as commands to open something, perhaps portals, perhaps windows between realities. And the most impressive thing, when overlaying these geometric patterns with star maps, comet routes, and dates of planetary alignments, points of convergence emerge. Specific moments in which heaven and earth align perfectly, as if they were marking dates to cross the veils of reality. Some say that only those who master these codes can access the portals. Others claim that the places themselves recognize the frequency of those who are ready to enter. Traditional science avoids touching on this point, but leaked documents from confidential research centers indicate that this ancient mathematics is being studied in secret. Because if these portals are real, cracking the code means finding the right door. Gods, or just travelers from other realities who left us clues. Ancient civilizations not only revered these beings as deities, but recorded in stones, papyri, and cave paintings that they came from the sky, in vehicles of light, surrounded by a glow that human eyes could not comprehend. They descended from the heavens and brought with them knowledge, technology, symbols, and languages completely different from what existed on Earth. The Sumerians called them Anunnaki, the Egyptians Neteru, the Mayans Kukulkan and Itzamna, the Hindus Devas coming in Vimanas. In all these cultures, the accounts are almost identical. Beings with human appearance but with superior powers, teaching about advanced mathematics, astronomy, construction, medicine, and portals. These beings were regarded as masters of time and space. They not only taught the secrets of sacred geometry and celestial alignments, but also indicated the exact locations where portals should be built. According to oral traditions preserved by indigenous tribes and texts kept secret for centuries, the ancients knew that these places were not just spiritual centers. They were entry points, real portals. And the celestial masters did not come for nothing. There are records that suggest that their mission was to prepare humanity for a future reunion, when the vibration of the earth was ready for new revelations. Much of this knowledge was passed on in encrypted form, hidden in myths, parables, and complex rituals so that only the initiated could understand it. And what appears to be religion is in fact a form of highly advanced spiritual science, an interdimensional instruction manual. Entire peoples have disappeared, leaving behind clues, symbols, technologies embedded in rocks that resist time, hoping that someone, one day, will decipher everything and reactivate the lost path. Modern physics is beginning to touch on ideas that the ancients already seem to understand. Concepts such as quantum portals, wormholes, and parallel realities, which were once considered science fiction, are now on the tables of the largest research centers on the planet. Scientists from NASA, CERN, and universities such as Stanford and MIT have been investigating so-called gravitational anomalies and space-time fluctuations for decades, suggesting that there may indeed be points in the universe where the laws of physics behave differently, places that could allow passage between dimensions. The technical term used by many of these researchers is Einstein-Rosen tunnel, better known as wormhole. In theory, it would be possible to travel instantly between two distant points in the universe, or even between parallel universes. But here's the detail that few people realize. The calculations used to understand these phenomena involve exactly the same mathematical proportions that we find in ancient sacred structures. The golden number, the Fibonacci sequence, the same geometric patterns that are inscribed on the stones of ancient portals also appear in the formulas that govern space-folding simulations. This cannot be ignored. It's as if the ancients already knew, somehow, that reality is made up of layers, frequencies, and invisible fields that can be manipulated with the right knowledge. And, most shockingly, some laboratories have already managed, in controlled environments, to fold space around subatomic particles for fractions of a second, a feat that, theoretically, opens the possibility for the creation of a microportal. If these experiments are carried out further, and if they are combined with the cosmic alignments described by ancient civilizations, we may be closer than ever to understanding that which has always been kept secret. These files were classified, but they were leaked, and what they contain is simply astonishing. Confidential reports from military bases in the United States, such as the infamous Montauk, reveal experiments that go far beyond common understanding. Officially, the Montauk Project never existed, but testimonies from former military personnel, engineers, and even physicists involved point to something concrete: deliberate attempts to open real portals, dimensional portals. The aim was to test time travel, teleportation, and even communication with entities from other planes of existence. Reports speak of gigantic equipment that generated intense electromagnetic fields, capable of distorting space-time, artificially replicating what ancient cultures seemed to do with rituals and sacred stones. One of the leaked documents mentions an unstable access vortex being opened under a secret facility, which would have allowed the entry or exit of something unidentified. This is not fiction. There are reports of disappearances, mental breakdowns among those involved, and the sudden interruption of the tests. Everything was covered up. Everything was publicly denied. But the evidence keeps emerging. The Philadelphia Project, another secret operation, also pointed to the manipulation of time and space using electromagnetic frequencies. And, most disturbingly, the technology described in these old projects seems to be being improved today, in underground laboratories with resources that escape any civilian control. The question that begs the question: why so much effort to hide this? And what exactly was discovered in these forbidden tests that required complete silence from the authorities involved? Because when different governments invest billions in research that does not exist, and documents mysteriously disappear from public libraries, it is a sign that the truth is much closer than we imagine. What if reality as we know it is just one layer? Are we on the verge of crossing over to another? Throughout human history, humans have sought answers to questions that traditional science still cannot answer. What are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? What if? The answers were never lost, but rather hidden under the veil of an incomplete reality. Contemporary theorists and even renowned physicists have already suggested that we live in a holographic universe, a three-dimensional projection of something much larger, with its own laws and limits that only seem insurmountable. But what if these limits are flexible? What if ancient civilizations already knew this, and that is why they built portals, temples, and symbols as tools to connect with higher planes? As we analyze the occult evidence, the geometric patterns, the alignments with specific constellations, and the reports of encounters with celestial beings, it becomes increasingly difficult to ignore the possibility that there are simultaneous layers of reality operating at different frequencies than our own. Quantum mechanics itself shows that a particle can be in two places at the same time, depending on the observer. This is physics, but it is also an invitation to philosophy. Are we limited to this dimension by choice or by ignorance? Could the key to crossing these boundaries lie precisely in forgotten technologies, hidden teachings, and ancient portals silently dormant beneath our feet? There is a growing uneasiness in the world, as if something is about to reveal itself, as if we were about to remember what we were taught to forget, as if the next layer of reality is calling to those who dare to seek more than what is visible, because maybe, just maybe, our reality is the illusion, and what we call impossible is just waiting to be accessed. An ancient text spoke precisely about this time, and it says, "When the heavens open, the portals will be revealed." This phrase, forgotten for centuries and found in an apocryphal manuscript discovered on the outskirts of the ancient city of Nineveh, is now being studied by linguists and scholars of the occult. It appears amid a series of symbols and references to stars that we have only recently been able to identify with precision, thanks to advances in modern astronomy. According to this text, there would be a hidden cosmic cycle, known to few initiates, in which certain alignments between Earth, Orion, and Sirius would activate dormant energy fields, the same ones that sustain the star portals built millennia ago. And here's the most surprising detail. This alignment, which occurs at exact intervals of 6,866 years, is about to happen again. Astrological data crossed with archaeological information shows that the oldest monuments on the planet were designed for this moment. This is no coincidence. It is sacred engineering, an interdimensional plan left by beings who knew that humanity would forget, but who also knew that one day we would awaken. Now, new satellite images have revealed structures buried beneath the Sinai Desert, gigantic geometric formations arranged in cosmic mandalas that mirror specific constellations, and amid these designs, the enigmatic inscription in a language not yet fully deciphered, but partially translated, as, "Those who see the sign will know where to cross." This recent discovery has been ignored by authorities, but not by seekers. Independent groups of researchers are already gathering data, cross-referencing information and finding patterns that coincide with celestial maps, sound frequencies, and even gravitational variations. Something is happening. Something that connects the most remote past with the most advanced science. A cycle that is closing. An ancient secret that rises with the sky. And now, faced with these signs, a question begins to echo silently among those who have always known that there was something beyond the veil. Do you believe there is a portal to another world? After all that has been revealed here, the forgotten symbols, the celestial alignments, the ancient constructions, the secret experiments, and the lost prophecy. The question is no longer if it is real, but when we will discover its whereabouts. There are too many signs, too much hidden evidence, too many connections that can no longer be ignored. And now that you know this truth that has been hidden for millennia, the decision is in your hands. Continue living on the surface, or start searching for the way to the other side. If you've made it this far, it means that something has awakened within you. So now it's your turn. Comment below, "I want to go through the portal." This will show that you are one of those who feel that there is something much bigger waiting to be revealed. Leave your like, because this will help to spread this message to more people who are also beginning to question what we have been taught. And of course, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos. In the next one, we will talk about evidence that NASA never released. It's appearing on the screen now. Don't miss it. This is just the beginning.